Welcome, everyone. It's just us right now. Welcome to the Brookline Public Schools School Curriculum Subcommittee on Tuesday, May 16, 2023. And this is a hybrid meeting, so we have some of us in person and we have Helen right now zooming in. So thank you for that. And we could just begin. So the agenda today is to go over the summer programs overview and then to talk about our program reviews that we've had, the implications for that, and then new business. So Michelle, are you doing the summer 23 programming overview?
Is Gabe joined us?
I don't know. Is Gabe?
No.
Gabe
Oh, wait, there are two attendees.
And Lee is coming.
Michelle, is Tina calling to? No. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to share. Let me get to, hold on. I'm gonna have to. Sorry, I had it open and then open it. I'm happy to share. It is a recap of information we've shared before, and there it is. All right. It's a recap of information that we've shared before, but we want to make sure you get the opportunity to see it. I do see Kristen Gray on there, and so if you have questions about specific programs, she can answer some. I do think we are expecting somebody from the high school to join us and Gabe to join us. I will share my screen and just sort of walk you through. There we go. So summer 23 is quickly approaching. The programs that we're sharing with you today are generally the same programs we've run in the past, and they really are invitational programs. So it's programs specific to student needs. And so, for example, we have our Project Discovery, and I'm not going to read all of the details, but this is generally focused in on supporting students that need more targeted instruction in ELA, specifically in reading and writing. And it is a 4-week program that's provided cost-free to the students. We have an afternoon program that runs with the Brookline Rec program and the community ed base, the community adult program. And basically, it is a full reading day for students, so they're engaged from when they arrive till they finish. And again, it is invite only. We have increased our invitations and our attendance. Right now, I think we're at about 220 registrants, which is far more. That is more closely aligned to pre-pandemic. I'll go through them, and then if you want to come back to any, we can do that. So Star Academy is our program that is sponsored through EL and METCO. It is fully grant funded. So this program is funded through mostly METCO and partially through our title grant for English learners. And again, it's a academic program. Students are here for the first 3 weeks of August, and they have basically a full day program of reading, writing, cross content, math, science. And again, it's just it gives students a boost prior to coming. I will tell you that right now we do have a waiting list for this program because there are over 300 students enrolled.
Wow. What is the maximum? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. What's the maximum we can accommodate? So we have all of Lawrence to run it in. So physically, our maximum is we can fill Lawrence. We are looking at what if METCO has additional funding to add more students to build this program up. And the other piece that's a slight problem, but not a total deterrent, is staffing. So getting enough teachers to have the program fully staffed, because that program does run right before school opens again. And so it is sometimes difficult to staff. At this point, Mindy is able to staff it. She is working with METCO to see if they can add an additional 1 to 2 classrooms.
Okay.
How many are enrolled now?
Over 300, well over 300.
And then there's a wait list on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Did anybody from the high school join? Because I don't know. Jen Martin. Jen, I'm gonna pass this over.
Hi, everyone. Jen Martin, social studies teacher at the high school and director of summer school. I got the sense, I just logged on, that you just want to hear a little bit about the program this summer. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So BHS Summer School is housed at the 22 Tappan building, the new building. It's a wonderful space for summer school because it's small enough so that we can keep track of kids. For years, it was at the 115 building, which is actually really hard because it's a huge building and you can lose track of kids. As somebody who's taught summer school for 17 years, I can tell you that's the case. So 22 Tappan was great. We used it last summer. It's been wonderful. And we share that space with Calc Project, with Steps, and I think, I'm not actually sure if ESY is going to be there as well. I think they are, but they'll be somewhere on the high school campus. I believe they'll be with us, but and I sort of oversee, just like I'm the administrator in the building for all of those programs, but I'm specifically the one who designs summer school. So we run from June 28th to July 28th. Pretty sure we're the earliest start time for all of the summer programs. And there's a reason for that. Over the years, we've discovered that it's really nice for high schoolers who need to take summer school to have the month of August as a vacation. And when we don't start early enough, we move into the August months. And I think that can be a real burden, both on our students and our families. Most of our students are kids who are, I guess I shouldn't say most, 60 to 70% are taking courses for what we call recovery credit. So these are kids who, for a variety of reasons, did not pass a course the previous year. Those reasons can range from not attending class, medical emergencies that might have prevented them from being able to attend a certain amount of class, to failing a class, going every day, but just not doing their work, or having, and there are a lot of reasons why that might happen. So the core of our program is core academic classes to recover credit. And so that's, who we're serving, which means that our kids, they don't love school the most. They're coming to summer school because they have to. Someone's told them that this needs to happen. And I have to say, we would welcome you to come to summer school. We have a great time. The atmosphere of summer school is actually wonderful. It actually has a similar feel to, I wouldn't say summer camp, but certainly like an academic summer camp feel, because kids are going and they can only take 2 classes. So most take 1. And they're really successful. So it's really interesting because they tend to love it. They love coming to class for 2 hours. They don't get homework. We definitely tailor the summer school experience to the population of kids who are taking the courses. And we want them to be successful. We want them to recover that credit. And so there's, their teachers are very experienced BHS teachers. We try not to hire from the outside. It happens occasionally, but this year, for example, I have only BHS teachers. Worked really hard for that to happen this year. And these are teachers, many of them are dual certified, special ed and regular ed, although it's not a requirement. It's something that I think is really helpful. And we're sort of like, I see us as like a social emotional program too, without it being said, but like kids come there pretty wounded and then they leave with credit and they feel really good about themselves. One of our goals is to make sure that they go back to school feeling like I'm on track. I can do school. I can be successful. I can be in the building and feel like I'm, a good student. And so I think for the most part, that's how kids feel by the end of the summer. We also have quite a bit this year, more than we ever have in the past, I don't know, maybe, dare I say, half a decade, maybe even longer than that. We have more enrichment opportunities. So one of the cool things about BHS Summer School is that we invite rising 9th graders through 12th grade. So that means there's actually not an insignificant number of 8th graders, current 8th graders, who enroll in our courses. And you can enroll in, for example, our English course, where some of the kids in the room are trying for recovery credit. Some of the kids in the room are like recently moved to Brookline and just want to like be in a class in the summer. They don't need recovery credit, but they're interested in the topic for that particular English class that year. We have rising 8th graders whose parents are just like, I just want them to be familiar with 22 Tappan, so I thought I'd enroll them in a summer school class. It's a really mixed group of kids. You'll often see ELL kids getting enrolled by their parents to help them practice their English. So it's a very diverse group. It is not just kids who failed. And it makes for a very interesting and dynamic classroom, actually. So there's enrichment within our recovery credit courses. Hope that makes sense. And then we're offering a whole smattering of like 1 week courses that's just for a kid who wants to just come for a week and see what the high school's like. We've got, I'm trying to think of some good examples of this. We have a history, mysteries in history course. That's, you know, for 1 week, 2 hours, kids come, they'll be able to be in the 22 Tappan building. I think it's probably going to be attractive to these rising 8th graders, but anybody can take it. It's not like dependent on a grade, which by the way, also means that the kids are like, you could have a junior sitting with a incoming 9th grader in the room, which is really cool. We've got a bunch of those in the catalog right now, which is great. We've got a few that are going to be catering towards kids who need to write their college essay. So we've got practical courses too that are not for credit, they're just for enrichment. Trying to think of some others. We have an AP prep course that's for APUSH students who are like maybe nervous. They're making a big leap from honors to AP US history. We have a course where they can take to kind of help them get ready for that. So the last thing I'll say, which is probably something you guys are wondering about, is payment and like, how do kids get chosen? That's what I was hearing at least about STAR. So any student, actually, you don't even have to be a Brookline resident to attend to attend Brookline summer school. And I should say, we do cost money to take a class in summer school. If a student living in Brookline, the town of Brookline, needs financial assistance, which by the way, many of our students do need financial assistance. They apply just like we would for any other thing, whether it's you're applying for, you know, free lunch status, financial aid status, they apply through the town. And then we supplement the cost of the course so that kids who need it can have it paid for, and kids who can afford to pay for it, pay for it. And obviously anyone outside of the town of Brookline must pay. And I'll just give you a quick example and then I'm done. We had a student, for example, from Wellesley Public Schools last year. Wellesley wrote the check, like Wellesley Public Schools wrote us a check for that student. Sometimes it's parents who are writing it. And we do tend to have partnerships with Metco programs, which is kind of interesting. I actually just met with the Lincoln Sudbury Metco people just to because they're looking for summer school options for their kids who live in Boston, and we are such a well-located school that is a really nice revenue income for us to help us pay for Brookline kids. So that's basically, I think, and I'm happy to answer questions. Helen, I can see you have one. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's great. In the past, I know the summer school has never broken even, let alone made money.
No, it's true.
I think that's still the case.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm wondering, do we charge more to out of town students? I think we should.
We do. Yeah, we have actually. It's not, sorry, the lights just went off in my room, but I think you can still see me. It's not significantly more, to be honest. And I've used the same pay scale. I mean, we've increased our prices. In fact, school committee voted to increase the prices earlier a few months ago. But it's not a significant difference, which I think is interesting and could be something to think about for, I mean, I've just published the catalog, so probably not for this summer, but I think that's a great question.
So how much is a course and how much is it for an out of?
It totally depends on the course. So let's just take a typical, say, English, right? You're trying to English recovery. Let's just say a course like that. For town, I think it's you know what, you're asking me right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm thinking of, it's not that, it's that I just posted the new prices and I'm thinking of the old ones. The difference, I'm going to look it up for you right now, though. I have it right on hand here. So, for that credit, it's loading. Here we go. I should say we have a couple original credit classes too, but very few. $415, it used to be $400. So we brought it up by $15 for a Brookline resident, and it's $465 for a non-resident. So I mean, it's not an insignificant increase, but it's not a huge difference either. I don't know. So that's an interesting question, right? Like, and I mean, when you think about other schools, there are not that many summer schools.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I know you probably, right? And Boston is the only other nearby summer school experience. And I think we're offering a very high quality experience compared to some years of Boston summer school. I think some years are better than others. But that's why Lincoln Sudbury called and wanted to talk to us and be like, we were not satisfied with the Boston experience. So it's interesting to me, by the way, COVID messed up a lot of these connections that we historically have had. So it's just starting to come back. Right. And I wasn't the director before COVID, so I was a teacher in summer school, but it's gone through lots of phases. Yeah.
Well, I think, Suzanne, we should think about, I don't think we can raise the out-of-district tuition now, although I don't know. I
No,
mean,
I think it's published already, is what Jen
Just-
said.
I'm so sorry. I published it yesterday though. So I mean,
oh,
you know, I wish we had talked about this literally last week. So sorry.
I'll remember, we'll have to remember next year when we.
I can remember
our
that for sure. And I
fees.
can bring it to curriculum committee for, if this is the right place to do it, I can do that for sure.
Maybe finance. They're the
Oh,
ones
yeah, right.
who
Of course.
do all the fees, but I think, to me, it's a wonderful option, and I think that, we should, be able to recoup our
Yeah,
costs, because 500 for a class doesn't even recoup it, I'm sure.
right. Yeah. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, Jen, I had a couple.
Sure.
Dan, so how many students do we have? I mean, what, so I guess seats is what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, I expect we're going to be much bigger this summer, but maybe I'm just hopeful thinking. I will say that, during the COVID years, it was lean. It was like 80 kids, like very, very lean. Last year we had 120.
Okay.
So I'm hoping anyways. So the question, Helen, like you're saying about recuperating costs, that's the point of an enrichment class, right? Like part of what I'm trying to do is to bolster our enrichment opportunities that are paying classes, right? In order to help pay for and offset these core classes that we're really trying to make sure Brookline students are getting, access to. So I can't say how many this summer. Obviously I just published it. We're just starting to register, but I'm hoping we'll get into like 150, 160. We've had years when I taught in summer school where we had, 200 kids coming to the high school. It was wild. It was big. I don't know if that's, whether that was good or bad. I can't say. It was much bigger. So yeah, I'm expecting at least what we had last summer and probably more. The other thing I would say is that, we're coming off of the COVID, I don't want to say supports, but like the way in which we've been doing attendance to help support kids through COVID, the way we've been sort of making, there were all these extra things that I think for the past few years had meant fewer kids failing classes due to, for example, absenteeism. But I'm guessing we're returning to a normal, kind of more of a normal setting. So I'll be curious to see if more kids are referred to summer school based on that. But I don't have any data to, that's a hunch that I have, so I'm not sure.
So when do kids have to, I'm sorry, are
Yep.
you done, Suzanne? I think I
Oh,
interrupted.
you go ahead, Helen, then I'll jump in after you.
Okay, when do kids have to sign up by?
Oh my gosh. I'd love to tell you like June 1st, but that is not the life of summer school. It is absolute chaos. So the answer is supposed to be the day before summer school starts. And I will tell you that realistically, one of the reasons why I start before July is because for those first few days in June, we're enrolling kids. Like kids are finally realizing, oh my gosh, I was supposed to do this, the parent, etc. So we will enroll kids fully like in the first couple days even of summer school starting. But then by that July 1, I'm able to be like, that's it. You've missed the opportunity, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the reason. It's one of the main reasons why we start a little earlier to make sure they have August, but also to deal with that last minute enrollment. We typically see most of our enrollment, honestly, like the week before summer school starts, because kids are also some kids are right on the line. Are you failing? Or are you not? I don't know until the report card comes out, until my finals get graded. Like lots of kids are in that situation. So their guidance counselor will tell them on, June 22nd that they need to enroll in summer school, and summer school starts June 28th. So
How many kids to a class do you have?
It totally depends because some classes are required for graduation while others are not. So for example, English tends to be quite big. We run 2 blocks though a day. So I'll say total number of English kids last year was 23. But 2 blocks. So they're pretty small classes actually. They're, 10. But then there are some that are really small actually, like science, you might see smaller numbers because you only need 3 years to graduate. So a kid, could fail a year of science and still continue on the path towards graduation. So you get a little bit of like flux there. But I would say a typical summer school class ranges between, honestly, we try not to run a class that has fewer than, I think it's 6 or 7 kids, because we're trying to make sure that it pays for the teacher who's teaching, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it says that in the catalog that we won't run a class that doesn't have the enrollment. So
Okay,
luckily we
good.
had that enrollment for all of our classes. So it can range from, again, minimum of 6 all the way up to, 15 would be a big summer school class probably. Which the kind of kids who are taking it can be pretty high needs. So that's a good number for a summer school class.
So I did have another question, Jen.
Sure.
Could you just kind of in 3 paragraphs or less, or however many it takes, I'm kind of curious how the curriculum goes in summer school. Is it individualized programs, even though you're all in the class together? Do they take it from like September to June and like really compressed? Or I mean, how does
Great
that
question.
work?
Great question. I'm really glad you're asking it because I spent all year asking this question. So I was the history teacher for many years for the recovery credit class. And we did in the past, I taught world history makeup. And I taught all of 9th grade world history, in a compressed 1-month experience. It was wild. We started to move away from that. And now, after consulting, I had meetings this year specifically with all of the curriculum coordinators, and I sat down and really said, we need to not be running the 1990s version of summer school. We need to run the 2023 version of summer school. And I also want kids to come to summer school, like I said, to have an experience that feels positive, not punitive, because we're trying to get kids to feel good about school and graduate with the right skills. So to answer your question, this year, we actually have all of them they are not repeats of the year they have failed. One of our problems is that not enough kids actually like fail WISP to need a WISP class, if that makes sense. We can't even run a class like that, right? We need to be able to compress lots of kids who failed maybe 9th and 10th grade in US or whatever. So, for example, the English class is it's going to do all of the English skills that you learn in your, so reading, writing, right, researching, that sort of thing. But the theme is Humans of New York, and it's investigating, like, I don't know how many of you follow Humans of New York. It's a fabulous blog that it's just wonderful. And there are these great essays that go along with people's photographs. So the kids are working on a project-based writing, reading, but around this one theme. And it's for any kid who failed English. It does not matter whether it was 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th. And it allows us to be really efficient in our recovery credits because I can enroll all the kids who failed English together in a room. And then they're being, when you ask like sort of about independent help, definitely all the teachers that I'm hiring are quite adept at that. So you will see, for example, in the history class, you need US history to graduate high school in Massachusetts. I'm sure you guys know this. But I have one history class running. It's a comparative US world class. So there's enough US in it to give you US credit if that's what you need. And there's enough world in it to count and using the history skills that you would learn, right? Doing those research, writing, reading skills, that it can actually fit for all of those things. Our science class is going to be an environmental science class, which should be really fun. So we're doing high interest this year. And that's one of the things I'm actually piloting. And I'm hopeful that we're going to get also kids who want it for enrichment, just for fun, to take the class. So yeah.
That sounds great. I mean,
I'm hopeful.
I'm thinking you should like keep notes and what really works.
Oh yeah.
We might think about that during the year if we dare say something like that, but
totally.
It's a fabulous opportunity to try some, really strong project-based, authentic learning
Totally.
For our high school kids, where sometimes we lose them. So that's great, Jen. Thank you so much.
No problem. I really am happy to come and talk about it. Thanks for inviting me.
So the next item is the Calc project, and I'm not sure whether Josh or Gabe are gonna present these details.
We can go straight to Josh.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Mhm.
Yes, Josh.
Great. Hi, sorry, I'm in my car.
All right.
I hope you're not
In
driving.
my car. So yeah, here to. Yeah, no, I'm not. Tanya is.
Hi, Tanya.
Okay, all right.
Lovely wife, many of you know, driving. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about calculus project. You can see all the I worked on with Lisa Rodriguez and Megan Kennedy Justice, who are the co-directors of the calculus project at the high school. So the summer academy is one of the three pillars of the calculus project. The other two being we have a tutoring center after school during the school year, and we cluster Calc project students in honors and advanced level math classes. So in the summer, we are this year for the first time starting in grade 7. So we were able to expand that to include grade 7, students who are grade 7 right now, and then all the way through to grade 12. You know, the students are there during, you know, basically for the month of July, some subset of that. 7th graders, we decided only to have it for 2 weeks, partly because it's the first year we're doing it, and partly because we wanted them to be able to do other summer calculus project. Grades 8 and 9 go for a full month, and we run that for 9 to 12. So the 7th grade, you can see, goes for a longer period of time during the day. We focus the 8th and 9th grade in the morning, so that they're noon, and then grades 10 and 11 we do for 3 weeks. They don't really need the full 4 weeks, and also these are some older students who may need to be getting jobs, and so we want to give them some time to do that, because many of them need to, you know, earn some wages. And then a more independent program for rising 12th graders. You know, we found the students who have gone through the Calc project, by the time they get to junior year, are really have developed the skills they need to be successful in honors and advanced level math classes, and so they don't need as specific programming. It's much more. It's done asynchronously, and so they do much more independent work, and they meet with the teacher. I think via Zoom this year, they'll do that like once a week or so. So that's the nuts and bolts of I guess the logistics. What we do differs from grade to grade. A big part of it is math curriculum. We are previewing some of the content that the students will see the following year in their math courses, so that when they see that content in the fall, especially, it will not be the first time they've seen it. And we find that having gone through the math learning in the summer and then seeing it again during the school year, it reinforces the learning they did in the summer, and helps retention, helps students be able to stay at the honors or advanced level. Before we did this, we saw a lot of students drop down out of our honors level, especially in 9th grade. So the rising 8th graders and the 9th graders really is where we, you know, get the most number of students, and really working to help them develop the skills they need to be successful in honors, you know, high level math courses. In addition to that, the other thing that we work on is community building. So one of the tenets of the calculus project is to build a strong isolated when they are in these advanced level math classes, and can develop strong relationships with their peers who can provide the support structure that they may need in these high level math classes. So that's that. This is the funding. This is funded by the public schools of Brookline. We make a budget every year. This is the largest part of the budget. We have our 2 co-directors, both work in the summer academy. We have a number of teachers that teach the various grade levels. These are all Brookline middle and high school teachers. We also have a number of students, older students who are currently in the calculus project or have recently graduated Brookline High School and were in the calculus project, serve as peer tutors in the class. And so they help the teachers, they work directly with the kids. So, you know, we do that because we find it allows us to do more individualized work with the students. And also, you know, like I said, they're the peer leaders. And so, you know, we believe that having older students serve as sort of guides or, or peers that can help students, the younger students, sort of navigate the program to be very effective. And then finally, we have one or two sort of teaching assistants that are paraprofessionals that help in similar ways. Both the paraprofessionals and the peer leaders take the kids out on recess during the day or do outdoor activities. Another part of the program I forgot to mention is that we do some field trips during the summer to the Museum of Science often, to MIT Idea Lab sometimes, and the peer leaders, all the teachers, peer leaders, and the teaching assistants all do that. So yeah, we serve 120 or so students each summer, and so our classes range from 20 to 25 students, maybe a little smaller for our grade 12 students because, like I said before, fewer of them actually need the practice over the summer. Yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to say about this. This project has been running since 2009, and like I said, this summer work is really a critical component in setting students up for success in their math courses the following year. So yeah, I'm here to answer questions that you may have.
Josh, do you have a wait list?
I'm sorry, a wait list?
Yeah.
No, pretty much every student who who signs up, we have space for. There may be a couple of, I think maybe a couple of seventh graders might not be able to get in because we're starting a little small with that until we get a sense of how effective the program is. But really, basically what we found over the years is any Calc project student who, is interested, we have space for.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe you you said this, Josh, but how many students are you planning on having this summer?
Yeah, about 120 to 130.
120.
Yeah.
And what is the student to teacher ratio in this program? Or F?
It's 10 to 1 maybe, like if we have classes of 20 to 25 students, usually we'll have 2 teachers in there, so that the students get some individualized attention, and also plan the curriculum.
I'm sorry, you're fading in and out and it's hard to hear.
Changes from year to year, like 12th graders. Yeah, they made it home, and so I'm in it.
What's that?
Can you hear me at all?
Oh, this is so much better.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'll go inside our house.
Yes. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes. We could hear you well. And once you stopped the car, I could hear.
Hi.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can't. I can't really hear you. Hold on a sec. Oh, I can see you. Hi, I can see you now. I can't. I need to get the sound back on my phone.
Oh, you may have to unmute it.
Yeah, hold on. Give me a sec.
Sure.
I'm gonna get on my computer. Hold on.
So we've been running this program, Michelle, since 2009. Is that when he started it at the high school?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
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 Is that when,
I can,
is that when Mr. Mims started it?
yeah, I'd have to look at the actual history of the COUT project. I'm
I
assuming
think maybe
you're
it
one of
was
the first
started during
sites.
the year and not in the summer, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's like a period where it's like kind of unofficial because it was created in Brookline, but
Right,
it's certainly
right,
been
right.
here for
And
almost 15 years.
And
Yeah.
while we're waiting for Josh, I can just summarize sort of the last program, and then Kristen's now available if we have, and she just wanted to say hello. We have our ESY program, which is a required piece for students who have IEPs. It's written into their IEPs. We have relocation. So BEEP runs its own program. Ruff and Ridley has basically the K through 8. And then this year we will move students back to the high school for the high school program. Last year they were at Ruff and Ridley. And so students will be in a more familiar space at the high school. And the timing, we run it for, and I forgot to change the date, the year, but I can do that. It is 23. I will send you a updated copy. But it runs between 4 and 5 weeks. Students have schedules specific to their needs. So students that might just be in a social group or coming in for speech may come for an hour at a time, a couple of times a week, whereas other students come more intensively for a program. I will tell you that the one thing that we did intentionally this year to sort of support students who might be eligible for Project Discovery and ESY, because their services aren't specific to reading and writing, we did move both programs into the same building. So they will both be at Ruff and Ridley so that students could come and get their speech and remain on site and receive Project Discovery or vice versa. So that was just a change. I don't know if Josh is back, but I know that Kristen just wanted to just say a quick hello and give you a few more pieces that of information that I wouldn't have had. So I want to let her come back, and then hopefully Josh will have joined us again by then. Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, no, I just didn't, I just wanted you to know I was here and that I was here for, so I just, but I just wanted to like, just add in a couple of things if that's okay, because I thought I was presenting. So, well, first, does anybody have any questions on that, what Michelle had said? And I can share a little bit additional details.
Why don't you share?
Okay, so, we have we run it through kindergarten through grade 5, and our largest our most enrollment is in kindergarten in grade 1, which is typical, and our smallest is 4 and 5. We have one director. We also have an assistant director / interventionist that works with kids that need additional literacy support. We have 23 classroom teachers, 4 program aides. This is funded through Title I. And again, this is free for participating families. We do have, like she said, partnerships. The transportation is provided for students in METCO if they want it or need it. Breakfast and lunch is going to be provided again this year from our food service. And again, we have a partnership with Brookline Rec Department, which runs Camp Kennedy. 46 of our K2 students will be attending that. And then Brookline Adult and Community Education runs Discovery Afternoons. And we have currently 28 students for our K through 5 students enrolled in Discovery Afternoons. And just that this is like really, our goal and what we really want our students, because this is invite only, is just to reinforce, reading, writing, and word study curriculum that they've had throughout the school year, and prevent summer regression. So we want to make sure that they're engaging in reading, writing, and word study daily, and make sure that they, maintain their current levels of proficiency in their literacy skills. So it is really honestly, one of my favorite parts of the year. And it's really a joyful experience for our kids.
How do you make it joyful?
I would say it's the team that we have working with each other. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the big things that we ask is how do you engage reluctant readers and like get them excited about reading? And so that's really like the energy that we have with our team of like our staff is really inspiring. It really makes me excited to work this summer. You know, I'm like, oh man, this like you're rolling down at the end of the year. But every time I'm like, I just can't wait until I'm at the point where I'm like, I can't wait until Project Discovery starts because it's just fun. Do you know? And so I feel like kids feel that, pick up on that when everybody is happy and joyful around. Like our community is really happy. And excited about reading and writing, obviously. Do you know what I mean? These are people, teachers that are like really passionate about literacy. And that's why they want to teach over the summer as well.
So Kristen, this is Suzanne. I'm making an assumption here, but you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Since we now have M-Class data,
Yep.
is relatively new, is it fair to say that that data goes with the students?
Yes. Yes.
The teachers are prepared to know who the students are individual.
Oh yeah, we've always had something because I'm I'm OCD like that, I guess. But I always have a student info sheet with like teachers fill out to share like some strengths that they have in reading and writing and areas of growth. And then we always, in the past, we've done like BAS. So we're going to continue doing that for like K-3. And then we're also going to track because right now the window for M-Class, the end of the year, just opened yesterday, Monday. Sorry, today was like thrown off with days. And so we're going to carry over that information for our students in K-2.
Thank you. Yeah. And then it goes back the other way when they go back to their schools in the fall.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, we have access
you
to
do.
all of the data and Kristen has access and so do a couple other people to pull from any student or any.
So we don't have to physically put it in a folder and
We
deliver
do
it.
not.
No,
Anything
Sure,
that they do over the summer, because we do have the option to constantly use the system, will follow us too.
Thank you.
So I have two questions that I'm not sure are totally to Kristen. One is, do we do this for math also, or just for reading?
We do not currently have a math summer program. And it's something that has been requested in the past. And so it is on our radar, but we currently do not have one.
Okay. And is lunch served to all kids who are doing the summer programs, or is it just to this program, or?
It's available to all as long as we are receiving the aid for lunch, then it's open to any student that's on campus at like within both programs. I mean, all the programs.
Yeah, and we send out a Google form with like their choices and parents have to fill it out of like what choice they want. And we have a system because our kids are dismissed at 12. So they either take it, grab it and go, or it goes with them to the afternoon programming.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the work you do.
I'm gonna stop sharing. I think I see Josh there. I just didn't know if you still had questions for him.
There was something.
Right.
Can I, Suzanne?
Go ahead, Helen.
So you were saying that the ratios were like 10-1, correct?
Yeah, again, it depends on what year you're talking about, but
Yeah.
some of the classes are, yeah. Mhm.
No, the reason I'm asking is I noticed you had 2 directors, whereas other programs only have 1. And maybe an assistant that teaches 2. And I was wondering about that.
So these are the 2 co-directors of the calculus project for the whole year. They are funded differently.
Okay.
They are not paid during the year. They, it's part of their teaching schedule. So they're not paid a stipend or salary. And in the summer, we like that they're both there. One of them serves as one of the teachers and they take turns doing that. So really they are sharing the directorship, is that a word? Of the program as they are also teaching. So they sort of
That's what I was
take on that dual role. Yeah.
I think a really important piece of the calc project is that there's this summer component that we're talking about now, but there's also a whole year round embedded in a student's life and in a teacher's life component that's kind of beyond the scope of this discussion, but like an important piece of the calculus project as a whole.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I remember when it started, actually. And I think you've gotten good results out of it. I don't know. How many kids who are in the calculus, actually, that's a good question. How many kids who are in the calculus project actually end up taking calculus in 12th grade?
Vast majority of them do, or some of them will take AP statistics also. You know, as the world is slowly moving away from AP calculus and accepting sort of AP stats as a high level math course, which I really like to see. But many, you know, the students who, I would say a vast majority of the students who start in 9th grade in our honors level course and get the supports they need through the calculus project end up taking an AP calculus course in 12th grade. So we've seen really a tremendous amount of success. We've gathered a lot of data about MCAS scores and about course enrollment and course grades. And, you know, I think we are very pleased with the way it's going. And I think we really have a positive impact on these students' lives. And we have a long way to go. Like the, you know, achievement gap, the opportunity gap it still exists. So we are constantly, I meet with Lisa and Megan every week, and we are constantly talking about how to expand, how to make a greater impact on students' lives. What we've been working on for the last really half dozen or so years in the math department is, right, the calculus project is really, you know, a tier 2 or even tier 3 support. And it provides a lot of help for students outside of the classroom. And what we've been working on in the math department is figuring out what tier 1 supports would look like in the classroom to support our students of color. So we've done a lot of research and work on being anti-racist educators, on anti-bias training, and all of that, because I think that's where the rubber meets the road. Like that's where the work happens, and the better work we can do with students inside the class means less work that they have to do and we have to do outside of the class. So still a lot of work to do, and I think Lisa and Megan have done an outstanding job and with great results.
It'd be interesting for some doctoral thesis to do a study of our program. You know, those kids who took it in 2009, where are they today? And, you know, how did they use it?
Yeah.
That would be really interesting, you know, just to do some longitudinal studies on it. I assume it has an effect. I mean, but it would be nice to show it.
Yeah, we still work with, you know, Dr. Mims, who started the calculus project. And, you know, so we have some data about what those students are doing now who started in 2009. That's one of the things on our list to do, of looking at more recent graduates of the program and seeing where they are. And we've been like extending down into the middle school, because I think we need to start well before they get to high school, and that's the work we're doing.
And that's our mission too.
Right. And I think that's the work we're doing now. And then next is like, let's look at, you know, beyond high school and where our students, you know, are going. And
I recommend getting a graduate student.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Yeah.
It's a great thesis.
And the main calculus project website has a lot of data on results, much of which does talk about Brookline. Yeah.
Shelly, you can see that Mindy is here too.
Yes, she is. She's also working with a parent at the same time. So thank you for the questions. And I got so excited to talk about summer that I didn't give us the opportunity to introduce the person to my left.
Yes.
So I take full responsibility. I don't know if you'd like to introduce her.
Yeah, those of us who are here, Dr. Jody Fortuna is here with us. She's already started. She's our new Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. So welcome so much, Jody.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Had
Yeah.
a great 2 days so far.
You're coming back for a third.
Yeah.
Love
Be here
that.
tomorrow.
Love that. Okay, are we,
We are good to go.
Okay.
Next topic.
Helen?
I'm good. What do you
I
need?
know, but Helen, you're the one that said you weren't gonna ask any questions because you're on a timeline, so
You
I'm
know
just,
me.
no, I know you, I'm just saying.
I hope they're not stupid questions.
No, they're good questions, absolutely, they're good questions. I just know that you have a deadline for the Red Sox. Okay, I think we're gonna move on if that's okay. I guess the other thing is I would just say to people, if things are falling apart for the summer programs coming up, be sure to let us know sooner rather than later. And if there's something that we need to do as a school committee. Otherwise, we think it's in good hands and we're really pleased with the work you're doing. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Are we ready to move on? Who's
We
gonna-
are.
Who's gonna lead us in this
Um,
next one, the program
It
reviews?
is Grace. Grace.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
I haven't
Grace.
appeared yet.
Good, good.
So there is a document, it's a 1.5 page document that is basically an overview of the implications of 3 of the studies that have been done in this year. One is the Child Study Team Response to Intervention study or review. The second one is the middle school staffing and scheduling report. And the third one is the 6 through 12 social studies review, which you all just had a presentation last time on. So this is the document. I thought instead of me just kind of regurgitating for you to give you some time to read, but just be thinking of this because this is like a practice for school committee. And is there anything, because if the 6-8 school committee will be about the reviews. And I thought instead of regurgitating each review separately, so this is my idea, you all can nix it.
Did we get this ahead of time? We probably didn't. I didn't read it. No,
Yeah, we did,
Yes.
Helen, but yeah.
sorry.
Just yesterday, Helen. So it wasn't.
I
All right, then I'm not
Can
that
you
far
find-
behind.
Helen,
So
can you
just-
find it now? Oh, well, you.
Yeah, I can look
can
for
see
it.
it on screen,
Betsy
yeah.
sent it out.
She did
Yes, I
send
did,
it out.
As a
Um,
framing, what we did was we thought it would be best to just bring up all the things that the studies had in common. So I thought it would, if you could just take some time to read and review this, and then I can maybe go through some of the more salient points rather than reading it to you. Just to get yourselves kind of oriented to it, and then we can go into questions. How does that sound?
Mhm.
So 5 minutes or so just to read through this.
You read it already, right, Suzanne?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I'm done. I
Okay,
read it.
thank
No.
you. Okay,
Thanks, everyone. Any clarifying questions before I dive in?
so I had just, so you had total classrooms, those are the total number of classrooms you saw. You went through, you walked through, and then you have, for target one, you did 139 classrooms looking at target one. Is that how that?
No, that's a great question. And maybe, you know, because it does seem confusing. We saw target one in 139 of the classrooms
Out of the
Oh.
182.
So that's,
out of, so the 76% is basically a percentage of the 182 classrooms.
and what's the percent of 50 to 100%? What is that?
So we visited all K to 8 plus mostly 9th grade, but we did visit some specialists or I should say elective classes at the high school. So it was not just 9th grade, but so that was 11 sites. And so of those 11 sites, the range, each site received their own percentages, and the range was between 5 to 100%. I mean, 50 to 100%.
I think I have to think about it.
Yeah, of all the
So-
classrooms that we visited, the lowest score was 50%
Oh.
hit target one.
Oh,
We
okay.
had a school that 100% hit target one. And so they ranged between that 50 and
Okay.
100%.
Of the 9 sites.
Mhm.
Or actually 10 sites, because we also went to BEEP.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions?
Wait, yeah, what's the difference between high quality instruction and rich tasks?
Great question. So in the first, so just for an orientation on what we were looking for when we did these visits, when NTC, the new teacher center, identified that we didn't know whether or not what our tier 1 instruction looked like. And so in order to kind of get a feel for what that was throughout the district, we used the instructional practice guide from TNTP, which I cannot remember what that stands for, but these are modified instructional practice guide look-fors. And so high quality instruction that meets grade level content and rigor called for by the standard basically means, and our shorthand for that was aligned to standard and aligned to grade level. And one of the things that we miss sometimes is really reading the standard and figuring out, well, what is the rigor called for? And I should say that because this is the first time the district engaged in this kind of walkthrough, we were very lenient on target 1 because we were just trying to establish a beginning common language about high quality instruction and what that looks like. Gabe, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I think just with kind of a little bit additional context, essentially like target 1 is does it meet the standard, right, as laid out. Target 2 is more about higher order thinking and more complex thinking, so higher up on Bloom's taxonomy or some other similar version.
Can I add to that though, Gabe? But that it's also aligned to the target 1. Sometimes you go into a classroom and it's stated what target 1 is, but the tasks that students are given don't match. And so, but go ahead, Gabe, if you want to talk about target 3.
Oh, sure. And then target 3 is that there are differentiated opportunities present in the classroom. And one of the distinctions we made that ended up being really important was intentionally designed differentiated opportunities. So in a lot of classrooms, we saw differentiated support where educators were providing different types or different levels of support based on student needs and responding to students. But what we were really looking for is kind of from the beginning of the design, there were multiple access points where students with a different range of abilities or different types of abilities could access the lesson.
And just to continue that thought, what we found was that there was higher alignment to grade level standards, but as it went, if it was less present that the tasks were aligned and rigorous and worthwhile of students' time, and then even less so that there was differentiation happening. You have to have target 1 in order for target 2 to be present. If target 2 is not present, then target 3 is going to be less likely to be present. So that's why the numbers kind of creep down.
So that number, let's say on target 3, that 40%, that feels low to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I should.
Well, I think that
That's
is a
good.
signal though from it's the point basically from NTC, which is because it's low, that means we're not necessarily differentiating in our classrooms for students. And then as a result, they're also getting referred for child study team. And we're not necessarily going back with child study team, showing teachers how to do that differentiation so that more students can access the content. And so that's the whole purpose of the work that we've been doing with NTC is to how do we enable our teachers to be able to provide that rich task, but also plan ahead and create more opportunities for students to be able to access that grade level content. Because
Oh, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Can I just add one thing? I think like coming back to Gabe's point, being really intentional, we saw teachers in the moment trying to support a student to get through a task or to answer a question. But what wasn't there was the intentional planning around it so that when the student had the task in front of them, that they could attempt the task or be part of the task because of the way the task was built. So I just want to make sure it's not that we didn't see any support of students. It wasn't support that was intentional to move their learning along.
Right. And if target 1 is not clear in a teacher's mind, it's really hard to differentiate because they're not necessarily clearly focusing in on what is actually being taught in the moment. And so as a result, they could be doing, for example, if you're writing and you're doing author's craft and you really want students to add details, but then in the support work that they're doing with students, all they're talking about is punctuation and capitalization. They're not talking necessarily about the core of the lesson, which is about the rich details they want in a story. And so the lack of clarity or connection between the two then leads to students not being successful in the actual target of the lesson.
So I'm going to channel Stephen for a moment because he's not here, but that 40, I'm still stuck on this 40%. I'm sorry. So just to go somewhere with it, that 40%, was that a matrix that the entire walking team came up with? Not the matrix, but that, whether or not they saw it.
That's a great question. So groups at each school, we probably had 10 to 15 people. And groups walked into these classrooms and they had to decide themselves whether or not they saw these and every group reported their results. And that's how we got these numbers.
Okay, so
Did they go to the same classes?
No.
No, a quick addition is that so if I had a group of 2 or 3, right, most groups were about 2 or 3, we might go into 5 classes at a school.
Mm-hmm.
As a small group, we have to agree on the ratings.
Mhm.
And then, right, in order to get a broad, because this is a broad like scan of a school,
Mhm.
another group might go to a different 5 classrooms, a third group might go to a different 5 classrooms. That's how we get 182 classrooms throughout the whole experience. And so, but like internally, like the 3 of us would have to calibrate so that we all agree, like this classroom was like, yes, yes, yes. This classroom was yes, yes, no, for example.
And when the whole group got together, we had discussion about the ones that we had some disagreement on and why. And so that's when we get to the indirect benefits of the learning walks, which is actually having these conversations and talking about whether or not we thought they were high quality, rigorous tasks or differentiation was taking place. And these are trends. They're not evaluative of a school or of any individual teacher. And so we wanted to make that clear that this data helps us know what we need to work on and where we need to, where teaching and learning needs to focus. And so I think the whole thing about the collaboration with schools, curriculum coordinators, OTL, senior directors from OSS, we got to everyone, Janae and Hayong joined us from Equity. And so as a result, we were all going into classrooms, observing together and using this common lens. We saw where we have holes in curriculum, where we have curriculum, but then it's in the wrong grade. Where, and we also saw that these findings actually confirm the findings from other reviews. And so we shouldn't be surprised because they're consistent. And I think that this gives OTL a great jumping off point. Can we
Can I just
scroll down a little bit, Betsy?
Oh,
Go ahead, Helen.
just 2 questions. So on the 182 classrooms in all 8 elementaries, all 8 plus the high school?
8 plus BEEP plus 9th grade and some of the high school arts and elective classes.
So you did all of those and the
Correct.
182 classrooms.
Correct. And that's, the reason why we wanted to collect data from so many classrooms is just to get that trend. Just it gives us some trend data.
Yeah, it's worrisome. Did you see anything good?
Oh, yes. I think that let's not make this all negative. It's not. It's what we saw is teachers that are working hard with what they have. And so as a district, OTL, and we need to create that pre-K to 12 articulated horizontal and vertical progression so that students are getting equitable experiences across the board, wherever they are in Brookline. Even within schools, students are receiving different experiences, varied experiences in a grade. And so what we want to do is make sure that, and that's part of the strategic planning process. Both Helen, you and Suzanne are on the strategic planning group, is that pre-K to 12 articulated learning expectations that we need to make sure are happening so that that target number 1 is going to be spot on no matter where we go. And I expect, that Jody and the team will make sure this happens within the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to take some time. And it also means, it doesn't mean that teachers can't be creative. It just means we need to make sure we're hitting the grade level expectation, and every student has access to that. Otherwise, we exacerbate the differences in the outcomes for students. It's what we see here is a result of our own work And and everyone's working very hard. And actually all the classrooms are welcoming, loving. We didn't see any like anything negative. So it's small tweaks, I think, that need to happen in order for us to ensure that our expectations are more aligned across the board.
I think we'll go to Gabe and then Natalia is here. So we'll go to you after Gabe, Natalia.
Yeah, so if I could provide a really maybe more concrete example of what Grace has been talking about, like, I mean, as you all know, I was social studies coordinator for K-8 for 2 years and spoke in this context about some of the challenges. And our K-2 social studies curriculum that teachers have is not currently aligned to the state standards. It was last significantly updated in 2012. It has not had major revisions since then. The standards changed in 2018. So it's reasonable that we would walk through a school and see a misaligned social studies class, right? If we saw social studies. Greg is working on that right now. He's been piloting some curriculum. He's working on realigning, and partially with some disruptions from COVID, partially just because we want to be really mindful of how much we put on any K-5 teacher's plate because they have to teach so many different subjects, right? We're being really thoughtful and methodical about that rollout. And Greg has done a good job of piloting, having teachers involved in like really collaboratively giving feedback. And so a little bit to Grace's point, in the near future, we should expect to see more alignment on target 1 for social studies. And once teachers have the appropriate materials, then we can have a higher expectation. It's really important to know that for all of this, like some of these things are things we have not talked to teachers about. We have not instructed about that, right? The structured differentiation in the 9 years I've been here, we have never done formal district-wide professional development on this. People have done it individually, but as a district, we have not said this is a priority that we're going to work on. So in a lot of ways, this gives us baseline data, right? So now to Grace's point, like we can say, we want to work on this priority, or we can say, you know what, we really want to focus on target 1 first, because we need to be clear on that. And the other things will come along. And so again, we don't, it's an assessment, right? It's a formative assessment of our work. And so we need to see where we're at. And like, that's kind of the theme that runs across so many of these.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Natalia, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalia. I'm the newest member of school committee, and I want to sort of echo what Helen said, that it's a little troubling to see these results as a first timer, and maybe it's because it does sound like there will need to be a lot of investments, not only in terms of professional development, but setting standards. And, as a parent of kids in the schools, hearing that, half of the time of the classrooms, that you didn't think that there was rigorous or worthwhile of student effort, the tasks that they were doing. I wonder what that is, like, what are they doing? And I do, it worries me a little bit. I should say that, like, I understand that alignment with grade level standards, as you just talked about, if standards have changed, then maybe it's misaligned, but I would assume that the majority of the time should be worthwhile student effort, whether they're reading quietly or doing an activity. So I'd love to hear a little bit what is considered not rigorous and worthwhile of student effort, so I understand what is being captured in that target 2. And then if you had any thoughts about different grades, like did you see more, the younger or the older, like, this is kind of an aggregate. So is it because it was all randomly distributed equally across the grades, or if you saw any patterns across the age groups, that would be pretty helpful. Thank you.
I would say that if you think about, there's various types of activities students can be given. If they're given worksheets and it's all like kind of like recall and fill in the blank, then that is really not worthwhile of students' time. And so I think when we talk about what a rigorous task, we think about the kind of thinking students are required to do in order to complete a task. And usually it's the kind of thinking that they have to do as a result of something they've read, something that they've seen or been exposed to, like an experiment, you know, in a science experiment or an experience. We don't want them just to tell us back, retell what they've seen, heard, or read. We want them to really think about it and create connections. And that's not where our students are yet, or, you know, for the most part, in about half the places that we visited.
And then we did not retain the data on like grade levels. School leaders got their school and sort of got their school in comparison to the district. We're not sharing that publicly because we don't want schools to feel targeted in that way, right? That's for their analysis and their work. But we realized pretty quickly that, you know, if we said like third grade classrooms, we didn't actually walk into that many third grade classrooms. So we don't want to be targeting teachers again, because we haven't previewed this with them. We haven't done instruction on this. This really is like getting a baseline at the moment.
Grace, can I add one thing, is that I think also in terms of the grade level piece is that if an activity was aligned to something that wasn't at grade level, then we weren't able to assign it as a yes for a high level task. So that was another piece that added to that data.
Right. Sometimes, you know, if let's say, you know, our ELA standards, they progress over time. And if you haven't actually read your grade levels expectations, and this could be true in math as well, you could be teaching an off grade level standard that's in the same strand or domain. And as a result, you know, you could be teaching a first grade or third grade in the wrong grade. And that's what we're looking for, because we want to make sure that teachers nail their grade level standard so that the next teacher can continue on in the progression.
So I am aware of the time, and we haven't gone through a lot of this. And I think the next steps certainly are helpful, especially as they're going to align with the 3-year strategic plan. I do feel like there's probably a lot of future work that the district has to do as a district. And I think maybe positioning it that way rather than say, and teachers have to do this. I think the burden is
the burden is on the district, definitely.
I think that's it's a easier way to understand what the work is, but also true. I mean, I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
I'm
So
thinking,
if you look at the second page, varied content across grade levels, lack of grade level of alignment to grade level standards, those are things that it's the district, because if it's not clear to a teacher, then that's not their fault. They're doing the best they can with the resources they have. The other thing is like time allotted for intervention in middle school. There's time allotted for intervention. There's time allotted for when, but not necessarily using research-based practices so that students are receiving targeted support. And then SEL in middle school varies, but research-based methods for engagement could be achieved through voice and choice. So I think those are some things to think about in terms of how intervention in SEL are happening in our schools. But the next steps, based on all of these reviews, rather than kind of looking at them each separately, to take these like 5 or 6 bullets and think about using those when considering the strategic plan. And I think all of the underneath teaching and learning, establishing pre-K to 12 standards aligned curriculum is there. Like that's a bucket underneath teaching and learning. But then there's leadership development, professional development. Our child study and intervention teams need assessment data. So there needs to be an assessment system, and then continue to conduct instructional walkthroughs 2 to 3 times next year to kind of see how are things going. And then I think building a common coaching model for observation, feedback, and follow-up based on these instructional look-fors could also help close the gap between what we expect and what we're seeing in classrooms.
The one step that people who know me will know what I'm going to say, I don't see here, that is really around common planning opportunities or professional learning community opportunities among the staff at even the grade level at a school. So that's just kind of my pet peeve.
That's part of, I mean, I would hope, and I know that time isn't on our side necessarily, contractual time that we have, that if teachers have time during the day when they can get together, that there are opportunities for them to do that. That's a structural contractual issue we need to address moving forward. Because I agree with you, Suzanne, there's no, so the reason why I have enabled child study student intervention teams to use assessment data is because right now there is no instructional leadership team at a school. So we were thinking, well, let's use this established team to be the instructional, you know, kind of backdoor be the instructional leadership team of a school.
I think another point is like the next steps that Grace has put together here come from cross-referencing the different studies.
Right.
And frankly, none of the studies said you need more collaborative time, because in many respects, we actually have more teacher collaborative time than they see in a number of other communities. There's a distinction about how it gets used and like control of it and structure of it. However, like in terms of raw time in the day, we do have that. And in many places, we do have grade level teams available to meet.
Yeah, that's fair enough that we might have the time somewhere, but again, I think how we use that time really to help the staff, to help the teachers understand the students' learning and
I think
challenges.
I think one of the conversations that we had as we were visiting schools was exactly around that. So where we had places where we didn't have alignment to the standards, thinking about like, how are we supporting teachers to look at standards, even if our curriculum isn't currently up to date, and they should be doing that as teams. And I think some of that's like getting the muscle around that with teachers and working with them on that, so that when they have that time, it's automatic.
Do you have any specific questions or feedback from us that you want? I know this was a kind of a practice.
Yeah, so in terms of this content, is it the right content for school committee and how it's framed in next steps?
Alan, what do you think? There's a lot here.
Graph that you didn't hear, sorry. I don't know.
So, here's the thing, the school committee would love, a little grid that says, here's the review, here's the recommendation, here's in charge, and here's the timeline. I'm just saying, we like those kinds of grids and that's not quite what this is, because I'm not sure that actually would be helpful if we had that. But but I do think that's some of what you're going to be asked, as long as we're giving feedback back and forth.
And how about within that, or like on that grid is, here's what we've learned. These are all the studies that actually gave the same information. And here's the next piece. So I think one of the powerful things in this may be wrong is to recognize how often we keep hearing the same feedback.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right.
Which is, I think, what we were trying,
We're trying to keep track of all that's going on. And there's so much. We're having a little trouble, saying, now how many reviews have we had, and what what have been the steps taken, which I don't really think there are any right now because, I mean, the big step was having the reviews and then looking at that. And so I think, you know, like you said, it's going to take 3 to 5 years to bring some of this. And what do we expect to see at the end of 3 to 5 years? It's kind of what we're doing with our strategic planning, right? Here we are now. This kind of tells us where we are. Now we want to know, where are we going to be in 3 to 5 years? And then how are we going to get there? And what do you need from the school committee to make that happen? Does that make
Yes.
sense?
And I do think that the strategic planning process is where that will get defined.
Okay.
That is one. Number two, I did try to do a grid. And so what was difficult is that every group that does a study uses various framing and criteria. And so you have to infer a little bit a way, you know, to create your own kind of pattern in terms of what it means, because they've got their meaning that their language doesn't necessarily match our language. And so I can go back and try again with the grid to see if I can make something that feels like it shows this pattern that I'm kind of trying to show here to make the point.
Let's do that together, Grace, because I'm creating this visualization in my head, having read these studies recently, of how we can possibly do that. So
Yeah,
I'd
let's
love to
do
partner
that.
with you.
I would
Yeah.
love to.
Okay, so
Who
do you
said that?
understand
I
what-
didn't hear who said that.
Totally. Okay. Helen? Did you
Who
have
was it who just said, let's do that? And
Jody said that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, we're gonna try to, it's part of the handoff is to understand these reviews and figure
Right.
out what are the 4 or 5 things we can use from these reviews that will help us create this more articulated progression in the schools.
I mean, I will say I'm very excited about this. I do feel like it's a baseline, like Abe said. You know, now we know where we are, exactly what we're doing in a strategic plan, and we have some idea of where we want to be in 3 to 5 years. We just got to figure out how we go from point A to point B. Hopefully we don't have to go to X, Y, and Z to get there, but
I think one of the things that provides cognitive dissonance here is our kids do well for the most part. I know there's kids who don't do well. Is it because of this or is it because of other things?
So I
sort
would
of like,
say,
you know-
I mean, I'm just gonna be totally honest here.
Yeah.
Helen. I think that there are many children who could be challenged at a much higher level. If the teachers were really clear about what the expectation for learning is on a daily basis, I think their days are kind of filled with a routine. And, you know, we want our kids to come really excited to learn every day and to be challenged. I'm not sure they're being challenged to the level that they could be.
Mhm.
And I think that by having a more articulated curriculum, that could happen, as well as helping our students who are having challenges, because teachers know what the expectation is, they can be more targeted.
Yeah.
But right now, it's all over the place, and so they're not.
Mhm.
And as a result, kids are just getting varied experiences across the board. Gabe, did you want to add to that?
Just a little bit. I think when we say our kids are doing well, we have to define what we mean by doing well. And like a whole bunch of our kids, right, our MCAS pass rates are really good. It's 85% plus, right? Varies a little bit by grade level. And that looks good in contrast to the whole state, right? Or some other communities that we may compare ourselves to. And that means we're missing 15% of our kids.
Yeah.
By that measure, right? And we've said many times that MCAS is not the most incredible measure. It's not a high standard. in some ways. It's a floor. And so, add to that our student growth percentile is mid-range, right? It shows that we're adding a medium amount, like students are making some growth overall. And then our school dependent students are the ones who are routinely not doing well. There was a piece of kind of analysis that if we looked at, our students of color, our students who experience poverty, we would not be in the position we talk about being in, right? And so, I think until we're really hitting every kid, we need to be continuing to look carefully. And one of the key pieces that we can do as a district is make sure they have access and opportunity to grade level content. And I think Michelle's right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the one piece also is that the conversation that we keep having about enrichment and stuff and having students be enriched and is partially because we are not at grade level standards in a lot of places. And if we were providing tasks that really hit those grade level standards, that enrichment would be there. And it wouldn't have to be extra programming or additional courses added to the catalog. And so I think this work can help us in so many ways.
I mean, just to go back, 30 minutes, what Josh said about Calculus Project is exactly this piece, right? If we are supporting students in the classroom and that students feel like their classes are fully accessible, they're learning everything they need, in some ways, Calculus Project becomes unnecessary, right? Or it can become a different thing.
Yeah.
Calculus Project is successful and it is still necessary. So we have work to do.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is a lot of the work that we've been talking about, Helen,
Yes,
that
yes, no, absolutely.
we want to do something different to make a difference. And if we, we can rest on our laurels and say, 85% of the kids are doing really well.
What just happened?
The school committee TV disconnected.
No, but Michelle's there.
She's on her computer and so is Betsy.
Oh.
Oh,
We're timed
hall.
out. It's
just
over.
us.
Town hall internet must be going down.
Okay. For me, part of this.
We should probably pause so that Betsy can get minutes and all
Okay.
of that.
I'm going to need to leave. I feel bad.
Yeah, I'm going to try to.
Grace,
What
you're-
time are you having to get going, Helen?
in about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
Such a beautiful night for a game.
It's a perfect night. I couldn't believe I got invited. It was really nice. I said to Suzanne, I was not going to talk. So sorry about this.
It's okay. This is the work, right?
It is.
So,
It
yes,
is.
yes.
It is. And
Yeah,
understanding
that's
it,
awesome.
and understanding what,
That's fascinating.
Betsy, everybody got cut out.
Well, that was my bit. I hope it.
Are they still talking? I think they're talking without us.
And now you're no longer informed, right? We can't vote on anything. But we're not voting.
We can hear them through Betsy's computer.
All right.
Yeah.
Now the D10's been lost, so can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I know that we have said an hour and a half, and it's that time, we're 5 minutes past. And I know that this conversation will go on. It's nice for our little group. We've had a little preview, so we'll have even more questions to ask. I do think it's important to bring it to the whole committee. I'm sorry I was going to repeat some of this for you, but I do think, and I hope it was somewhat helpful to bring it to us first. We go back and forth about that, Julie, about.
Definitely. I'll work with Jody to polish it up into a PowerPoint.
Great.
I think make sure you put in some of the points that Gabe was talking about. I think they're helpful to sort of put a picture on it, not just a number.
I'm depending on Gabe to be there so he can interject as needed.
And Michelle, I mean, not just Gabe, both of you.
Yes, both.
Okay, we're going to move on. I know there's much more we can talk about, but that's all we're going to do for today because I want you to get to the game. Is there any new business? Seeing none, I will call the meeting to order and we are adjourned. Helen, have fun tonight.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night, folks.
Thank you very much.